Some mistakes do not hurt only because you failed. They hurt because everyone was watching. Because before you tried, you were still a possibility. But after the mistake, it felt like you became that moment. As if everything you had done before no longer mattered. As if your entire story could be reduced to 1 second. And maybe that is the cruelest part of failing in public. It is not only your body that fails. Something breaks in the way you believed people saw you. One step, one decision, one shot, one word, one reaction. And suddenly, people no longer remember your effort. They remember your mistake. In a stadium, the silence after a mistake can feel heavier than any scream. No one has to say anything. Sometimes it is enough to see the looks, the hands on people's heads, the camera searching for your face, the slow walk back while everything inside you is falling apart. But this does not only happen in soccer. It happens in life too. When you fail an interview, when you say something you should not have said, when you lose an opportunity, when you disappoint someone, when you make a decision and the result goes wrong. And suddenly, it feels like everyone saw it. Like everyone will remember. Like no one will ever allow you to be more than that mistake.
The hardest part is not failing. The hardest part is living inside the failure, replaying it in your mind, imagining what would have happened if you had done something differently, if you had waited, if you had spoken, if you had stayed quiet, if you had chosen another path. Your mind turns that 1 second into a slow replay. And every time you remember it, you lose again. Even though the moment is already over, even though no one is watching it now, even though life has moved on, you are still there, standing in front of that decision, in front of that mistake, in front of that version of yourself that could not carry the pressure.
And this is where a dangerous lie begins. The lie that one public mistake reveals everything about who you are. But it does not. A mistake reveals a moment, not an entire life. It reveals pressure, exhaustion, fear, impulse, humanity. But it cannot explain all of you. The problem is that when the mistake happens in front of others, you start seeing yourself through their eyes. You judge yourself the way you imagine they judge you. You speak to yourself the way you imagine they speak about you. And slowly, shame becomes identity. You no longer say, I failed. You start saying, I am a failure. And that is when the mistake begins to take more from you than it should. Some people never try again after failing in public, not because they cannot, but because they cannot stand the idea of being seen again. They prefer to stay still. They prefer not to risk anything. They prefer not to make decisions. They prefer to live in a place where no one can applaud them, but no one can judge them either. And that can feel like safety. But sometimes it is just a slow way of giving up. Because the fear of feeling that shame again can steal more of your life than the mistake itself. The mistake lasted 1 second, but the fear can last for years. And that is the real defeat. Not that you failed, but that you allowed that failure to decide how much of your life you would still dare to live.
Maybe you also have a moment like that. One you do not talk about. One that still visits you when you are alone. A call you never made. An opportunity you let pass. A person you hurt. A decision you made badly. A day when people expected something from you and you could not deliver. And since then, a part of you has been walking carefully, as if you constantly need to prove that you are no longer that person. listen to this. You do not have to spend the rest of your life punishing yourself for 1 second. You can take responsibility. You can learn. You can apologize if you need to. You can repair what can still be repaired. But you do not have to turn that moment into a permanent sentence. People may remember your mistake, but you are not required to live on your knees in front of their memory. Some will talk. Some will exaggerate. Some will reduce you to what they saw. But they were not inside your chest. They did not carry the pressure. They did not feel the fear. They did not hear the noise inside your mind before you made that decision. They do not know everything that happened before that 1 second. And even if they did, maybe they still would not understand. That is why, at some point, you have to stop asking the world for permission to stand back up. Because if you wait for everyone to forget, you may never start again. Coming back after failure does not always look heroic. Sometimes it looks small. Training again. Asking for another chance. Speaking again. Trying something that already went wrong. Maybe no one will completely forget. Maybe someone will always remember that moment. Maybe, to some people, you will always be the person who failed. But you have a decision more important than convincing them. You have to decide what you will do with what happened. You can hide. You can spend your life explaining yourself. You can let that memory make you smaller. Or you can do something harder. You can look at the mistake directly and say, yes, it happened. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it marked me. But it does not end here. Because a mistake can change the way others look at you. But it does not have to decide the way you keep looking at yourself. Maybe the moment that embarrasses you the most did not come to destroy you. Maybe it came to show you who you are when you can no longer protect the perfect image. Because anyone can keep walking when everyone is applauding. But not everyone stands back up when they feel like everyone saw them fall. And maybe that is the decision that changes everything. Not avoiding failure, not living your life trying to make sure nobody sees your mistakes, but deciding that even after failing, you still have the right to come back, the right to learn, the right to repair, the right to try again. Because failing while everyone was watching may have broken you, but staying there forever, that would have been the real defeat.